Hello and welcome to the one-stop shop where you can rub shoulders with an extraordinary group of men. India's tryst with its economic destiny began with these bulls taking charge of Dalal Street. Learn the incidents and the inspirations that helped shape them. Join me, Ramesh Damani, as we morph into the minds of the wizards of Dalal Street. My guest today is someone who emerged as the young tiger of the financial markets during the Harshad Mehta bull run of 1992. But by 2000, the skeptics were on his trail, calling him a has-been. Refusing to slip into oblivion, he used the severe bear market of 2002 to catapult himself back into the mainstream by boldly proclaiming the birth of a new bull market. The man who they say saw tomorrow, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Rakesh, thanks a lot for joining us today.
A pleasure.
I want to take the market through your early years in the market. You started fairly young in the stock market, didn't you?
Well, I was interested in the stock market. I'm 1960 born. I think my sister got married in 1975. I remember from that year, I used to read the newspaper and I used to see that prices fluctuate. And I was always a very inquisitive child. And my father always encouraged my inquisitiveness. And my father used to do some investing, some trading. So I used to be after him that, Daddy, why do prices fluctuate? Why do you buy stocks? So he used to tell me that read the news and you see something comes about gas, Gwalior. Next day Gwalior's prices go up and down. So because news comes, then some balance sheets I used to see. What is this balance sheet? So as a young person I never understood much, but I used to understand, share capital, reserves and surplus means very good. Company has got large money. So I had a childhood curiosity and a childhood interest.
But you were a bureaucrat's son. I mean, weren't you propelled into the IAS, IFS type of stream?
Well, I was a bureaucrat's son, but fortunately I have a very democratic father. And also we are from a business background. Business is in our blood. Speculation and trading is in our blood. We are from Rajasthan, Jhunjhunwala district. And my father was very democratic, very encouraging dad, and he taught me a lot and he encouraged me to do whatever I found interesting.
Inquisitive, but my sense is that when you decided to become a broker, say for example, he wasn't exactly embracing you.
Yeah, maybe that was far later when I was about 29, 1989, 90. No, he never, I tell you, I will never forget, I became a chartered accountant in 1985 and I come from a very middle class background. My father had no business and I had to make my life myself. So he told me after I completed my chartered accountancy in 1985 that what do you want to do? I said, I want to go to the stock market. So he told me 3-4 things which are very, I think which are the basis of my career today. He said, don't go to any of my friends, don't ask me for any money, don't do this, I'll do this, right?
That is, don't ask anyone for any money ever.
Right, don't forget your word is your bond, you have a house, you can live here, you're a sharp fellow, you're a chartered accountant, you can earn 15,000-20,000 a month, you can look after yourself. Be fearless, and he morally encouraged me.
1985 is when you entered the market. Can you tell us the first stock which was your original idea?
Well, I had no money and my brother was a practicing chartered accountant. So he had a client whom he introduced me to. And she had a lot of money and she wanted to have enhanced return. So she was very well provided for. I said, why do you want to, go into stocks? But I can do one thing that bank deposits pay. You used to pay about 10% that time. So I told her, you will lend me some money. I'll give you 18% interest. So she said, security. So I said, I have no security. I had 5,000 rupees in the bank, which is what I when I saved through my articles and something my father had put in the bank when I was a child. So I told her that what I can do is you give me a check of 1 lakh. I'll give you a security after 15 days. Then you give me a check of 1.5 lakhs. Again, I'll give you a security. And after some persuasion, she agreed. So that's how I got the first 2.5 lakhs.
Because we date ourselves, interest rates were high, 18%, and after 15 days, because settlements were 15 days then.
Yeah, so that's why I gave her the security.
But in 89, by the time of Dangote budget, you had hit your spur. 3-4 years into the market, you were now becoming...
Yeah, see, 85 to 89, this lady gave me 2.5 lakhs, then there was a Christian gentleman, to whom I still pay, even today I pay him 24% interest. I still have his money, he gave me 5 lakhs. I went and gave him a security, he returned it to me. I told him, Mr. Mendonca, you don't know what you're doing, you're giving me money, I'm in the stock market. He said, no Rakesh, I trust you. I had this 7.5 lakhs, then I earned about 8-10 lakhs of rupees in trading in 1985-86 in investing trading. And then I bought 5,000 shares of Tata Power. Then the stock market went through a fairly...
Right, the logic of the Tata Power, the yield was greater than the interest you paid?
The yield was greater and also, the earnings was very good. And there was some talk there is, the companies were getting a fixed return in accordance with the Electricity Act,
Correct.
right? There was some talk that they will link it to the amount of power generated. At those times, even the percentage of capacity used was far lower than today. While Tata Power's capacity utilization was 100%. So then Tata Power would have benefited very much if they had fixed the rate of return to the capacity utilized.
Correct.
And there was good yield, 150 rupees I bought, they used to give a dividend of 18 rupees.
That covered part of your interest cost.
Part of my interest.
But by 89 you had hit your stride. I mean, you were looking at bigger things. It was more than just making a living.
Yeah, I went through 2-3, there was bare years, I would say depressive years, but I never speculated. I had a badge, I used to go to the ring, I used to observe, right? And, I felt then that the only way, then I asked my family for some financial help, my father said, I will stick by what I said, you want to go to the stock market, right? And
Stockbroking was not considered a fashionable profession in those days,
he
was
said,
it?
you have to make it yourself. But Ramesh, I can tell you one thing, although I live with my father in that house today, in the same house today, and when my dad, although he did not financially help me, it was very critical that I lived in a joint family. I got married in 87 and I had no income. I had two, 3 very bad years in the market. Not that I lost money, but I didn't earn much.
The markets itself didn't give the opportunity.
Give the opportunity. And I was always very careful as always.
But in 89, what made you make that contrarian call? There was still gloom.
But although I was not earning anything because my father was looking after the house, looking after the kitchen, and I was living with him, I had no problem. Suppose I was not in the joint family, Ramesh, I don't think I would have remained in the market. I would have to take up a job.
No savings.
No savings. I had a savings. I had 5,000 Tata Power.
But if you kept spending it.
Yeah, and I didn't want to spend it, right? So then I realized that, the passport to growth is capital. And no father is going to give it, no father-in-law is going to give it. So that capital had to come through trading. And then that's when I decided, then I had a friend, Mr. Bajaj, he was very bullish in Sesago. So he told me about Sesago and I believed at 27 rupees, Sesago and the iron ore prices are fixed annually. The prices were enhanced for the next year and stocks was available at 27, 28 rupees. So that was really the first punt of my life that I bought about 2.5 lakh shares of Sesago at 27, 28. Then I bought another 2.5 lakh shares at 35, 36. And those shares went to a price of 65 rupees and 6 pounds.
It was a contrarian bet. What we'll do is we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll chat some more with Rakesh Jhunjhunwala about his contrarian bets. Welcome back to the Wizards of the Last Street. We're talking to the wizard himself, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Rakesh, in 89, did it teach you to be a contrarian, the us against them philosophy that you've always stood for in the markets?
Well, I try to assess the markets, opportunities, what the prices are, what the prospects are, and then if I differ, I differ. I think in my investment, in my thought of things, being a contrarian, not a rule and not being ruled out.
But great fortunes in the market are made when you stand alone against the crowd, against the conventional wisdom.
Yeah, but again, the conventional wisdom, you have to, Ramesh, do it with great care, right? And you don't get many an opportunity, although you get opportunities. I agree with you that the great fortunes are made by standing against the crowd. But my idea is not to stand necessarily against the crowd. I'm participating in this bull rally.
Who were one of the first persons to point out, of course we get to that later in the show. But let's go to 1992. It was a defining period in the Indian stock market. The
index, 89 about Madhu Dhanwade's budget.
We finished 89.
I can tell you why I was bullish. I don't know if you know the background that VP Singh had become Prime Minister. We had a first coalition government in the center.
Right.
And VP Singh, the market had welcomed him with a huge rise. Then there was all talk, just as there was last year, about the communism, socialists, and Madhu Dhanwade was the finance minister, and the budget is going to be very, very socialist oriented, and all bull talk that they're going to impose a tax on education. And I know that state, the education is a state subject, and for revenue of 100 crores and the coalition government in power, they are not going to amend the constitution. So in all kind of fears, in the market, I thought that, the first part of the liberalization program in 83 was launched by Mr. VP Singh, only when he lowered the income. And I thought although he's a Thakur, he's a businessman who understands business. So I thought he will never give a budget which will hurt business.
And a couple of his budgets as finance ministers were positive.
Were very good, very positive. And after all, he was the Prime Minister, he was giving the broad direction to the budget. And therefore, everybody was humongously, I can't tell you, Ramesh, you have to be there to understand the bearish sentiment. And everybody from the Panwala to Mr. Nimesh and to Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and Mr. Kamal Kabra, all of them extremely bearish.
All the market players were bearish
All the
at that
market
time.
players, 1 to A to Z. And I thought, and I had made some money, I had my net worth had become 1.5, 2 crores, so I had the ability to take a risk. So then I thought and I took a bet. And again, I must tell you that on the morning of the budget used to come in the afternoon, in the evening. At that time, I developed cold feet. And then I thought, boss, I've taken this position and if things go against me and everybody might talk to us bearish. So what I did, I had a lot of long positions and in certain scripts I went short. Hedged. And because I thought if the budget doesn't work out as I have envisaged it, it will damage me financially. And then as soon as the budget came, I mean the way the stocks went up.
It was clear to you the market was headed higher.
And I just doubled my